Hello there, bonjour, Roger Swift, Retro Music Review UK here, and I thought I'd do something a bit different. I'm going to basically take you through my collection of studio albums. Now, I don't know how this video is going to play out because I'm holding a camera in one hand and trying to do this one-handed and show you along like that the whole way. Now this is my main, just go down there, you can see this is what's going to go there. I'm in a tight space, there's a wall behind me. Right, so what we're going to do is, and this is basically my my main shelf. Now I have, this is where I keep all my studio albums. I keep my compilation albums separate. I might go on to those as well. But this is my CD singles. I've got absolutely like almost 1,000 of them, I think, or if not more. But these are the studio albums I keep. Now, this is the main shelf. I've got like a secondary shelf around the other side that I may get onto as in this video as well, but we're going to do this one first. Now, this is the albums I consider like the ones that are more important to me, the better ones, the ones that, you know, I feel more of attachments to, and the artists I feel more of an attachment to than the other. I'm going to get on to, you may notice now, there's a couple of albums I want to put in this collection I don't have yet. For example, there you can see there what those are like placeholders for albums I still haven't actually got yet, but will put here on this shelf. I haven't got like all the artist albums yet or whatever. There's a couple bits there that, you know, you can see what I've done that, so we'll get on to those. But we're going to start at the start here. This is everything non-Manic Street Preacher related. I keep my Manic Street Preachers collection, which is complete, around the other side. We'll come on, I might show that in another video at some point, but or I'll give you a quick glance of it in this one. But this is the other artists. So we'll start on the top left, and we've got Oasis here. We've got the Oasis discography of albums, starting with their debut, Definitely Maybe. But then, of course, I have two copies of what is probably actually my favourite non-Manic Street Preachers album of all time, the infamous What's the Story Morning Glory album. I actually have two copies of this, and the reason for that is, one is the later reissued one on Big Brother, which was their own record label, but I was in a charity shop and I came across an original creation one from the 90s, so that's more like 90s authentic to me, so I anally retentive now keep two copies of it. Great albums, and there's a whole debate. Some people obviously think Definitely Maybe is better. I don't think so. I think What's the Story is the definitive album they did, and of course all their others, which I won't bother getting out, but we've got Be Here Now, the Master Plan B-side compilation, and then of course we get into the later ones when it gets shady. We've got Standing on the Soldiers of Giants, Heathen Chemistry, Don't Believe the Truth. Of course, you know, some people are going to argue which ones of them are good. I mean, personally, I think Heathen Chemistry is a good album, but I'll leave that up to the fan base. You know, that's an internal debate amongst the fans, which ones are good. Then we've also got Fleetwood Mac, who are another favourite band of mine, despite the fact I've only got 4 of them here. Now, the only 2 Fleetwood Mac albums I actually own, studio albums. I say I'm a fan, I've got 2. We've got, of course, the 2 classics. We've got Rumours and Tango in the Night. These are the later remastered versions. Both are insanely good albums. Rumours is one of the best-selling albums of all time, and a lot of people know it. Tango in the Night's a later one. That's the one that's got Little Lies. I can turn it around, show the track listing, can't I? It's got Seven Wonders Everywhere, Little Lies, and what's the one? Isn't It Midnight, which I think is a very underrated song of theirs on there. So, but then I've also got this one, the Simple Green Greatest Hits compilation. A lot of the stuff repeated from those are on this, along with others. And I've got a live CD of theirs called The Dance, which is like a live one. Moving on, we've got Queen, Greatest Hits 2, Greatest Hits 3. I'm not going to pull every single album out along the way. I'm just going to talk about some of them. I'm doing this right at the start, but we'll stop doing this before too long. Queen's Greatest Hits with Bohemian Rhapsody and the earlier ones. And then you've got Greatest Hits 2, which has got like stuff like kind of magic, innuendo, generally later ones are theirs on there, and Greatest Hits 3. And not a lot of people know about Greatest Hits 3. They did do one in the late 90s, which has got like these are the days of our lives, and the very later Queen stuff on there. We have 4 albums by the band Feeder, who I'm a fan of. We have Echo Park, Comfort and Sound, Pushing the Senses, and the Singles Collection. Again, there are going to be Greatest Hits compilations in here. I don't deny that fact. Followed by, of course, to me, no collection of albums would be complete without them. They're right at the bottom. I'm not going to bother putting them out. You know, the baby swimming towards the dollar bill with his penis. The Nirvana's Nevermind, which is an absolute stone cold classic. And the later Nirvana Greatest Hits compilation, I haven't got the other albums of theirs. No, they're the only two I've got, because between them they've got all the songs I like Heart-Shaped Box and things like that are on that. So yeah, I'm sorry people, there's going to be like, people going, well, why haven't you got this, in the comments, I'm sure. Now of course we move on to two must-have albums. Absolutely, if you're going to have a CD collection of any kind, you absolutely must have both of these, in my opinion. These are, of course, we've got the Dark Side of the Moon and Pink Floyd's The Wall. They're the only two Pink Floyd albums I actually own. And having said that, my three favourite Pink Floyd songs are Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 and Comfortably Numb. And I also like Money on Dark Side of the Moon. But it's a good album. I mean, it's one of them high concept things. If people consider it the best album ever, I personally don't, but it is a very, very good album. Next up, we have four Idlewild albums. We have they're all four. The first four they did: Hope Is Important, 100 Broken Windows, The Remote Part, and Warning/Promises, which really has only got one good song on it, and that's the single Love Steals Us from Loneliness. The Remote Part, I think, was their peak. That's my personal favourite album of theirs, because I like all but 3 of the tracks on that album. It's a really good album. Of course, we have 3 more that are essentials. These are the essentials, in my opinion. We've got the first 3 Radiohead albums, Pablo Honey, The Bends, and of course, OK Computer. I don't think anything they did after that's worth bothering with, but of course, that's a whole other debate. OK Computer is still, I think, the best one. Okay, then we have on to Travis. I like Travis. And which ones of theirs do we have? Have I got all of theirs? I'm not sure. We've got Good Feeling, The Man Who, The Invisible Band. That was their peak of their career, the most biggest selling ones. Million selling albums. The Man Who, The Invisible Band, and then we got the more recent. We've got 12 Memories and The Boy With No Name. That's the one that's got Selfish Gene on it, which is a really good song. And then you got the singles collection as well. Again, some people say, well, if you've got all them albums, why have you got the singles collection as well? Well, because I quite like, there's that one song on there that I can't think what it's called, Walking in the Sun, which is exclusively on the CD singles collection. So I basically have it for that one song. Then we go on to the Sympathy Animals, another one of my favourite bands. Again, the first few albums they did. So we've got Fuzzy Logic, Radiator, Outspace, which is like the B-side compilation, which has got some good stuff on it. Gorilla, and once again we have the Sympathy Animals songbook. It's the singles collection effectively. Now I actually had that. I had Fuzzy Logic and I had the singles collection. I only picked up Radiator, Outspace, and Gorillas from charity shops. Again, quite some of these are charity shops finds. Some I actually have had for years. Some are charity shop finds, and I've added them into the collection for the sake of I've added them in some cases. That be one of them. I mean, I had the singles collection in Fuzzy Logic, but I happened to come across them, so I'll keep them all. We now got the Green Day, not complete discography. We've got the Green Day starting with Ducky, Nimrod, Warning, American Idiot, and in my opinion, everything post-American Idiot's really not bothering with. Again, these are going to be controversial opinions with some people. It's just what I think. Shenanigans is their B-side compilations, because they've done some really good B-sides. Bullet in a Bible is like a live album. It's basically the American Idiot tour. It's like them. It's just a live album. Uno, which was one of the more recent ones, which I've never actually listened to. Again, that was either Poundland or a charity shop where it was £1. I think it was one in Poundland where it was £1. So I thought, for £1 I'll add it to the collection. One of the more recent ones, isn't it like one in a series where there's like 4 or 5? Again, it's not something I chase, but if I ever find it for £1, I'll buy it. Some of their other ones, later ones, but I don't think everything post-American Idiot's rubbish. Rubbish. I just haven't bothered with it. We've got how many? We got 5. Is it REM? We got REM albums. I mean, I haven't got a complete REM collection. It's one of them. I would. It's a maybe long-term goal. But I've got, between all these, I've got all the REM songs I like. We've got a Document, Out of Time, Automatic for the People, Monster, New Adventures in Hi-Fi, Reveal, and the best of REM. Because the best of REM's got 2 songs on it that aren't on their albums. It's got All the Right Friends and what's the other one? The one that's in The Great Beyond. That's it. They're not on any of the other albums. So that's basically why I got that. But I'm justifying having best of compilations and lots of studio albums here. Again, that's not all of them, but it's like kind of like I would aim to get all the REM albums one day, but I'm not going to go like mad or chase after them. It's just something, if I find it in a charity shop for £1, I will get them. Beautiful South, again, we've got quite a collection here. Again, I had the Blue Is the Colour, and I had the best of, which is called Solid Bronze Great Hits. I had both of them at first, and just them two. But then as time's gone on, I've managed to find... I'm pretty 99% sure these were all, again, Poundland finds. You know, that's the rack they have in Poundland, where they're all £1 each. It's all come from Music Magpie. It's all Music Magpie stuff people have sent in and been paid 2p for, that they're then selling on to Poundland shops for £1. You can find some interesting things in there. For example, these, the Beautiful South's first one, which was, what was that was actually called? I forget. Is that Meow? Or it's just called, that's right, it's Welcome to the Beautiful South. And you got Blue Is the Colour, which is one of my all-time favourite albums. When I was younger, I had that on cassette. And I mean very young, like 13, 14, I had that on cassette and used to listen to it all the time. Very depressing album, but very, very good. Quench, Glaze, I'm not sure how you say this. Is it Superby? I can't remember how you actually say that. I'm starting to get pins and needles in my foot. I'm going to have to put an edit in this video in a minute. And then, of course, you've got the Solid Bronze Great Hits, but then I got that after I got all the others. Got that before I got all the others. Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, which I think's a pretty good album. Again, the singles are my favourite. Tonight, 1979. Today's not on that album, is it? And what's the 0 and a 33? Yeah, so I remember all the singles. I'm not going to bother pulling it out because it's right at the bottom. Double album. Again, it's one of them. It's a concept album. I happen to think that's a good album. Stone Roses, I've only got the 2. I haven't got Second Coming because I don't personally rate it. I only have the debut, the Stone Roses by the Stone Roses, and I've got this crappy compilation, The Complete Stone Roses, because, sacrilege alert, I'm sure a Stone Roses fan's going to yell at me at some point one day. I happen to like the radio re-recorded they did of She Bangs the Drums. On the album version and the radio version's completely like it's a completely different recording, and I happen to prefer that one, which is what's on this. Also, a couple of the B-sides I quite like, Stone Roses B-sides. There's a few good ones. Mersey Paradise is one of my favourite Stone Roses songs as well. So it's basically the radio edit of She Bangs the Drums and Mersey Paradise is how I justify having that, along with the album. Stone Roses are one of my favourite bands, though. I say that. I hate Second Coming. I think it's rubbish. And I don't blame them for throwing it in Shaun of the Dead, pop culture reference. Guns N' Roses. We have, I've only got 3 Guns N' Roses albums. Of course, this is an example of where the debut was the best. One of them albums that the debut album was never topped. We've got Appetite for Destruction, which has got its original price. I paid $4.99, and that's what I paid for this in a Virgin. Remember the Virgin Megastores? It was one of them, like, you know, blowout sales things, and I got this. I tell a lie, it wasn't. It was HMV. Now, I've seen that. It was. It says normally $9.99, $4.99. We're talking about 10, 15 years ago I bought that. And it's one of my favourite albums. Again, it would be in my top 10, maybe top 15 albums ever. Pretty much every track on that's good. I think there's like one that Out to Get Time I'm not that keen on. And again, Rocket Queen. So, like, you know, 10 out of 12. Good album. And, of course, I've got the Appetite for Destruction, Appetite for Destruction 2 as well. Still haven't got onto the next shelf yet. We're still on shelf 1. Right, we now have the... I'm getting pins and needles in my foot. I'm going to have to put edits in this. Right, we've then got... Stereophonics, the first 3 albums, Word Gets Around, Performance and Cocktails, and Just Enough Education to Perform. They were the good 3. I mean, by the time we got to Jeep, they were starting to lose it. The first 2 albums are the best. I still think Performance and Cocktails is the better one of the 2, but they've really begun to like... Mr. Right is a good song, but, you know, anything they did post that's rubbish. Yeah, this is a controversial one now. I'm going to have to defend this to the hills. I have the first 2 Darkness albums. I know they've done a couple more since then, haven't they? But this is like again, Permission to Land, still one of them that, you know, the first one's the best and will never be topped. The follow-on, One Way Ticket to Hell and Back, that was a £1 shop find. I think it was a charity shop find where I think I paid either £1 or 50p for it. So I thought I'd get it and chuck it in there with it because I quite like the singles on that are quite good. Offspring, we have the complete Offspring, say complete, it's not complete, is it? The most of the Offspring albums here. Smash, Ixnay on the Hombre, Americana, Conspiracy of One, Splinter. As you can see, there's a placeholder here. Now, these are what you call, you know, they're gaps where I want to put another one in there. I do actually want to get hold of their Greatest Hits compilation because it's got 2 songs on it. Defy You, and what's the other one that's on there? Can't Repeat, that aren't on any of their other albums. So if I ever find that in a charity shop or in Poundland or somewhere, you know, it's on the lookout. Of course, we're in lockdown at the moment, so, you know, I'm not going to pay the eBay prices for it. We're on to Offspring, a good album and a good band. I've seen them quite a few times. I actually think Americana, this is controversial, I actually think Americana's their best album if you take Pretty Fly for a White Guy and Why Don't You Get a Job off it. The rest of that CD is really probably their best, just them 2 turds basically ruin it. Muse, the first, how many Muse albums? I think I've got, let's see, I've got Showbiz, Origin and Symmetry, Absolution, the Black Holes and Revelations, and the Renaissance. Is that all of them? I think that's like the first 5, isn't it? I've got there. Again, Muse, I like them. Again, I'm more into their singles. I don't think I've ever really properly listened to all the albums all the way through, if I'm being completely honest. I just like all the singles they released off them. So that's what I'm going to say on Muse, although musically it is my kind of thing. I like Muse. But even as, okay, like as a singles band. Okay, this is a couple of interesting ones. We got the, this is one of the more expensive and rarer and niche albums I own. This is a band called the Cardiacs, and the album's called Songs for Ships and Irons. Cardiacs is like one of the most ultimate acquired taste bands. I have compared my own comedy act to being the stand-up comedy equivalent to the Cardiacs. They're so experimental and weird. I mean, they haven't been going. They were from the 80s. I've only retroactively discovered them through YouTube videos. And I just, you know, listen to some of their music. It's just so out there and weird, but like in a really creative way. The Avalanches, Since I Left You. This is a really, really good album by an Australian duo who it's like loads of samples cut up. I don't just like rock and indie music. I do like, you know, alternative dance and stuff as well. We'll come to that. We'll come to some dance records and things. So this was an interesting find. Monty Python's Sings. I found that in a charity shop about a couple of days after Terry Jones had died. A couple of days after he died, found that in a charity shop. Okay, I'm not going to bother from this point on taking any out ever, just talk about them. We've got 2 Doves albums, you can't see them very well there, Lost Souls and The Last Broadcast. Doves' The Last Broadcast is a very good album. It's one of them I can listen to most of it and only miss out like at least skip over 2 songs on it. Great band. But then again, their later stuff wasn't that good. 2 Placebo albums, the debut, it's just called Placebo, and the Best Of compilation, which is the singles effectively. Arctic Monkeys, their first 2, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, and Favourite Worst Nightmare. Again, I liked them. I mean, they were one of them, you know, popular things, weren't they? They were like the best things since the Beatles for about a week at one point. Controversial now, here we go. This is very controversial. We have some Genesis albums, We Can't Dance, the Genesis Live CD, and Genesis Turn It On Again, the hits, the Best Of compilation. I'm just going to put that out there. I am a fan of Genesis. I like their music. Along with 2 Phil Collins albums, Hits and No Jacket Required. Suck that in. Yeah, I'm a fan of Phil Collins. I've had 2 of his albums. Linkin Park, we've got 3 Linkin Park albums. Again, their first 2. Another one of them bands that peaked at the start. Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and The Reanimation, which is basically remixes of Hybrid Theory songs, because there's one on there that I actually think's better than the remix is better than the ordinary one, which is by myself. The remix on Reanimation I think's better. And that was £1. Again, I found that in a charity shop for £1. Okay, another controversial one then. We've gone from Phil Collins to Linkin Park to Madonna. I've got a few Madonna albums here. Like a Prayer, Music, American Life, Confessions on a Dance Floor, The Immaculate Collection, Greatest Hits 2, because between all of them I've got all the Madonna, between all those, that comprises all the Madonna songs I like. American Life, I can't remember which song it is I like on American Life, but I can't be bothered to take it out and remind myself. There's one on there I like. We have Michael Jackson. Yep, I have Michael Jackson CDs. You know, nothing's going to change that. Is this contraband now? Are you allowed to have Michael Jackson CDs? I've only got 3. I've got the Essential Michael Jackson, Bad and Thriller. Bad and Thriller are very good albums, and everything else, I don't need any of his others because they're all on that one. Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygene and the sequel Oxygene 13, which I think's better myself. And there's 2 more albums of his I want to try and get hold of. Oxygene 3, which is the 3rd one, and Zuluk, which is another one of his. I like a couple of the tracks on, but haven't ever got hold of yet. 2 Snow Patrol albums, Snow Patrol's Final Straw and Eyes Open. Bryan Adams' Waking Up the Neighbours and 18 Till I Die, and Anthology. Yeah, I quite like Bryan Adams. 18 Till I Die is a good album. Blue Tones, Expecting to Fly, and Return to the Last Chance Saloon. Expecting to Fly is another example where their first 2 were their best and they never went any better after that. But Expecting to Fly is a good album, although my favourite song of theirs is called Marblehead Johnson, which was a single only release, but I've got the single of that. I have, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4 Bad Religion albums. These were a job lot I picked up on eBay. It was all 4 of them because there was 1 song on each I liked. I used to play the game Crazy Taxi on the Dreamcast, and it was ported to many other systems. It has the song 2010 and one of their other ones I can't remember the name of in it, so that's I'm familiar with that. Bad Religion, not really a thing in the UK. They're a big, they're a cult act in America. Never really, not that many. Unless you're really into your punk rock, then you're not really going to have heard of them. Sorrow is the one song of theirs I really, really like, and that's on that one, The Process of Belief. I essentially have that CD for that song. The first 2 Keane albums, Hopes and Fears and Under the Iron Sea. Keane were a guitarless rock band who started in the early noughties, who I rather enjoyed and bought their albums. They got there's a couple of album tracks on Hopes and Fears that are really good. Next up, right, here we go. This is the most controversial one of all. I own, ready for this, well, currently, I've got, you know where this is going, I am going to pull these out. I only own, currently, 2 Beatles albums. Yep, I only own 2. I've got the 1 compilation, and I've got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which I picked up at a car boot sale, I remember, and they only wanted £2 for it, because that obviously still goes for a fair price on eBay. That holds its value on eBay, and I'm not paying stupid money for it, so I think that's why I got it. And I've also got 1, and between them 2 albums it actually almost encompasses my entire collection of Beatles songs I happen to like. I think the Beatles are overrated. Yep, I've said it. Yeah, I'll say that again. The Beatles are overrated, but I like them enough to own them too. Although I do actually have the this one, which is Magical Mystery Tour, because I want the other Beatles song I really like is Strawberry Fields Forever, and it's on that CD. And of course Beatles stuff isn't cheap. Lightning Seeds, we have 3 Lightning Seeds albums, Pure, Jollification and the Best of the Lightning Seeds. I had the Best of first, and then those were later picked up in charity shops and Poundland, pretty sure charity shops. Again, Supergrass, 2 Supergrass albums, their second and their third, because their first one's I Should Coco, which I haven't got. In It for the Money, and the third one's Supergrass. Again, Supergrass, musically my kind of thing. Space, Spiders and Tin Planet, another band who only their first 2 albums are always going to be their best. And I was into them in the 90s. Again, that's just a bit of 90s comfort. It's sort of like cartoon indie rock is what I'd call that. If you've never heard Space, check them out. They're interesting, creative. My leg is going to sleep again with the position I'm in. Hang on. A bunch of Mike Oldfield albums. Quite a lot of Mike Oldfield. These are more recent purchases. I've recently got into Mike Oldfield. He's a classically trained musician who does they're not like pop music at all. Well, some of them are, but they're like long pieces. And of course you've got like Tubular Bells 2 and Tubular Bells 3, which are Tubular Bells. The first, it was a vinyl originally. It's only 2 tracks. It's one half an hour long song and then another half an hour long song, but it's continuous. If you're familiar with it, if you've ever watched the film The Exorcist, the opening bars of Tubular Bells will be familiar to you. I actually personally think Tubular Bells 2 is actually better though myself, which he did later. You've also got the Crises album, which has got Moonlight Shadow on it, which is his big crossover pop hit. An album he did called Hammer and Acronaut, which is upside down because that label's upside down on it. Earth Moving has a couple of good pop songs on it, guitar again, and 2 best of compilations that have got different tracks on it. Again, I think these were Poundland pickups, both of them. At various times I found them in a Poundland for £1, so I picked them up because there was like one song on it I liked. So that's a complete collection. So I've got 2 different best ofs there, but then they've got one's got one on it and one's got another one on it. Right, then we go from the sublime to the ridiculous. We have Red Hot Chili Peppers, who I'm into. Currently only have one of theirs, by the way, although the 3 others of theirs, Mother's Milk, One Hot Minute and Californication, are on the agenda to get at some point. Their stuff holds their value. It's not cheap to find. You know, you've got to pay, you know, a £5 for each one on eBay at least if you want to, if you're paying eBay prices. And again, this other band, Iron Maiden, who I am a fan of, but we haven't got all theirs. We've got Brave New World and Dance of Death, and The Best of the Beast. I also want to get hold of Fear of the Dark because there's a couple of songs on that I like, but haven't got hold of it yet because again their stuff, metal and rock, tends to hold its value in that respect. Another band I'm really into is Eels, despite one of theirs missing from the collection so far. Their first 4, Beautiful Freak, Electroshock Blues, Days of the Galaxy and Souljacker, are really good albums. Again, they're kind of like they're nothing like Space, but they're like it's like really creative, different, but somehow guitar, rock, alternative music. Blur, we have Leisure. I still want to get hold of Modern Life is Rubbish and Park Life as well, but I haven't yet, simply because I haven't found them for the right price. They're the kind of thing I will find for £1. I'm not going to pay an eBay, you know, I'm going to pay £4 for them on eBay when I will definitely find them for £1 at some point in a charity shop. But of course we're in lockdown, they're all shut at the moment, so I can't, you know, that part of my life, charity shop hunting, is gone, is not currently available to me. The Great Escape, 13, Think Tank, and The Best Of, and A Beginner's Guide to Blur. That's because it's got the album-only single on it that's just completely gone from my head. Pop Scene, they did. I have the entire of that. I bought that just to get Pop Scene. I actually want to get hold of a Best of the Pet Shop Boys. I don't have a Pet Shop Boys album, even though I want one. And the one that Pop Art, the Best of, again, it actually kind of holds its value on eBay. It goes for like, you know, £5-6, and I'm, you know, I want to see if I can get it for less in the wild, which means charity shops, car boot sales. Dodgy's 3-piece suite, Moby's Play. The band Cake, they're an American rock band that not many people have heard of. Who are, again, they're so creative. They're like this really, really weird kind of music. But it's like rock music. The guy like talks, he doesn't sing. Yeah. And I've got one of their albums, which is called Comfort Eagle, and several CD singles by them. They're just really interesting, although I only own the one album. Space Hog, Resident Alien. I found that in a second-hand shop in Shrewsbury. I went and did like other charity shops in Shrewsbury. I live in Telford. Shrewsbury's the next town along in Shropshire. And I found that in a second-hand record shop, and I think he only wanted like £1.50 for it or something. And again, that's usually £6-7 on eBay. So I picked that up. The In the Meantime by Space Hog is an amazing song, one of my absolute favourite 90s gems. It was, if you know it, you know it, just listen to it, it's amazing. I've reviewed that song in a previous video. Best of Tears for Fears and Electric Six's Fire. We've also got an album called Awake by a band called Tycho. Somebody did a Rick and Morty YouTube poop. It's not in Rick and Morty. They did a Rick and Morty YouTube poop video, and they used this song in that. And I asked someone what it was, and they said this is what it is. It's a song called... It's actually the title song. It's the song Awake by Tycho. So I had to buy a copy of that album to get that song because I really liked it. It's like instrumental electronic music, which again, I like my rock music. I like my indie music. I do like my electronic and dance music as well, to a degree. Right, I've had to switch to a different camera to do this final shelf, so this is where the quality suddenly changed. So we've got the final shelf, we've got Biffy Clyro. I can't really see because of the angle here. We've got a Best of Prince CD, Best of 2 Aerosmith, The Greatest Hits and Young Lust, and 9 Lives. That between them takes care of all the Aerosmith songs I like. The Coral, 2 Coral albums, the first 2 Killer albums, Hot Fuzz and Sam's Town. These are bands that I like the first 2 albums of and then don't bother with any of the later ones. We've got is that Attack of the Grey Lantern? Yeah, Manson's Attack of the Grey Lantern, and Manson 6. If Laura Monmouth's watching, one of my comedian friends, she'll now be, going into a thing about that, because that's her favourite album ever. We have Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. Any Americans watching are now going to go, oh, that's defining the 90s, that one. 3 garbage albums, the first 3, Garbage version 2.0 and Beautiful Garbage. 100 Reasons, their first 2 albums, Ideas Above Our Station and Shatterproof Is Not a Challenge. The Eurythmics, Best Of, and then another one. Sultans of Swing, The Best of Dire Straits, The Future Heads. We got Kaiser Chiefs, their first 2 albums, Employment and Yours Truly, Angry Mob. Divine Comedy, Casanova, which has Songs of Love based on the Father Ted theme tune. Orbital, The Altogether, which has quite possibly the best rendition of the Doctor Who theme tune ever on it. 2, again, the first 2 Sum 41 albums, All Killer No Filler and Does This Look Infected. Supernatural is another underrated band from the 90s. Catchy indie rock in the same vein as Space we saw earlier. Bowling for Soup, punk pop, I don't know what you should call that. 2 albums by then. We've got Let's Do It for Johnny and The Very Best of Bowling for Soup, which between the 2 of them takes care of the Bowling for Soup songs I like. The Ataris, So Long Astoria, they do a great cover of Don Henley's The Boys of Summer on that. Crowded House, Woodface. That's again, that was a Poundland purchase, and there's a pickup because there's like about 4 songs on it I like, including The Fall at Your Feet and what's the other one, Chocolate Cake, a couple of others. Cooler Shakers K, this is one of them, the singles were really good, they were a singles band, but then the rest of the albums, but it's, a bit of 90s nostalgia comfort. Soul Wax is Much Against Everyone's Advice, 2 albums by The Hives, Tyrannosaurus Hives, and your favourite new band. Saw them at Leeds Festival in 2002. We have, I can't even see now what's in here at the top. We have, Mazzy Star, a couple of albums by Mazzy Star, who I got into via Rick and Morty, because they use a few of their songs in Rick and Morty episodes. The Best of Electronic ELO, Electronic Light Orchestra. Hello, Peter Fox, your favourite band. Yep, that's all. It's reduced to the 3rd shelf on here. 2 Kings of Leon, Blink 182, Enemy of the State and Greatest Hits. Ocean Colour Scene, 2 Ocean Colour Scene albums. Hello, Freddie Farrell, if you ever watch this. That's your favourite band. Tenacious D's The Pick of Destiny. Tenacious D by Tenacious D, I haven't got hold of yet, but I want it. TerraVision, which one is it I have? How to Make Friends and Alienate People. TerraVision, again, 90s rock band. I haven't got hold of Urban Regular Survivors yet. Actually, 1977 Nuclear Sounds, haven't got hold of it yet, but I've got Free All Angels, their 3rd one. Skunk Anansi, still haven't got hold of Paranoid and Sunburnt yet, but I have Stoosh. Papa Roach, I have 2 of the 3 I want. Early noughties new metal band, who I really like. I was into Papa Roach, I like their stuff. They had the first 3, Infest, the second one was called Love, Hate, Tragedy, which I haven't got yet, and Getting Away with Murder. Another big chunk now of stuff where I haven't got all the Metallica albums yet. I've got 1 Metallica album, which is the Master of Puppets I have in there, and I want all their others. Black Album, Metallica, Load, Reload, Garage Inc., S&M, that's the one with the orchestra. They're all on my list of things I want, but Metallica stuff, like metal, they're a metal band, they have their own following, their stuff holds value, and you can't just pick it up like that, and you don't see it very often in the wild. I have seen once in the wild a copy of the S&M, which was the one they did with the San Francisco Orchestra, but one of the discs was missing. It was in a charity shop, it was only 20p, but it only had one of the 2 discs missing, so that was a big disappointment. I have a Best of David Bowie up there. I have Chris Rea's Road to Hell. I also have Foo Fighters. I've got most of theirs apart from their first one. I've got what we got here, up to In Your Honour. I've got One by One Is There Nothing Left to Use, The Colour and the Shape, but I'm still missing Foo Fighters by the Foo Fighters, their first one. We have, and over here we have The Best of the Police, Jimmy Eat World, The Best of James, Fresh as a Daisy, the singles. Moving to the Country, You're Going to Eat a Lot of Peaches, that Presidents of the USA by the Presidents of the USA. Hi-Fi Serious. Nothing is a great song. Babylon Zoos, The Boy with the X-Ray Eyes, the 1990s One Hit Wonder Spaceman. Their album, I bought it on cassette at the time. I now have the CD of it. I could do a whole review. I did a review on that song where I talked about this. I think this is an underrated album. I happen to like this. I think it was ahead of its time, and you know, it's got, you know, it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's musically creative. And I have the Wheatus album, Wheatus. You know, Teenage Dirtbag. Yeah, I bought their album. Not at the time. It was £1. I only paid £1 for this, and because they did that Erasure cover, I really liked. Now I've also got some more over here, but I'm not going to do, this video will go on forever if I do it. This is like the overspill, if you like, and as you can see I've got some more where I've got placeholders ready for others, where I've got one album by a band, and this is there's just that. So, and there's also more behind it, so I'm just going to literally just pass over and just do that quickly to show you some of the other ones I've got. So like that, you know, just you know, I'm not going to go through them. This is in huge detail, but I've got like Beck O'Delayed, Seahorses album, Clawfinger, what else have I got? Bloodhound Gang, AC/DC. I've got the Razor's Edge and Ballbreaker, and I want to get hold of Highway to Hell and Back in Black. Again, it holds its value. It's not something you find in the wild very often, and you have to pay the, you know, the higher eBay prices for it if you want it. Def Leppard, Van Halen, the best of, Strokes, The Vines, some obscure American bands you've never heard of, Everclear. I know if Max Pool's watching, you like Everclear, don't you? Some other random things, Jet and stuff like that. Weird Al Yankovic. His stuff, he's big in America, not so much over here. If you're American, you'll know that is. In Britain, he's not that well known. But I've got a couple of his, namely the Essential with the best of, Poodle Hat, and what's that with UFO. Again, these were finds in second-hand record shops, and I paid about £3 a piece for them. I didn't actually. The Essential, the best of, I think I bought on eBay for £4. I think it was £3.99 with free pack. I think. Teenage Fan Club, Earl Brutus. See, some of these are a little bit more. These aren't even worth displaying. They're hidden behind others. You've got like Simply Red, Limp Bizkit, Wet Wet Wet, David Gray's White Ladder. Yeah, I've got David Gray's White Ladder, so much I have to hide it behind there because I like Babylon. I really like Babylon that he did. The Eggmen was the Creation label formed like a super group of their bands. The Best of the Bangles, Hugh Lewis and the News. What else we got here? Deep Blue Something, who had a hit with Breakfast at Tiffany. I managed to find their album in a charity shop, and I think it was like 20p I paid for it. It was just something I wanted to have. Razorlight, one of their albums. I've got Bon Jovi albums, the Smurfs Go Pop. I don't have to defend myself. I've got the Smurfs Go Pop. I didn't pay much for it. It's got a bit of 90s nostalgia for me. U2, I don't rate U2 that much. I've got a couple of theirs hidden away behind here. T'Pau album, Toto 4, that's the one that's got Africa on it. Again, it was a charity, I think it was a Poundland fine, that one. Some others, Ace of Base, Tracy Chapman collection, Fun Loving Criminals. What else we got in here? A Roy Orbison album in there. I had to go to the other camera because we're back down on the floor again. We've got Stain, Mercury Rev, Snuff album I haven't got yet. These are all placeholders, one I want. Snuff were an indie band in the 90s. Steely Dan, found that in a charity shop. A best of the Manfred Mann greatest hits. Fatboy Slim albums. The Cause, Dream Theater, who were like a whatchamacallit, they're a progressive metal band whose stuff I pick up when I see it, but I wouldn't pay full price for it. They're sort of one of them, you know, interesting oddities to me. I'm into these sort of, you know, odd bands with like that who have like a cult following. I will listen to their albums. And the final tucked away stack you can't see very well because they're hidden behind others. We've got what can we say? I can't even see from my angle. Donna Lewis, I Love You Always Forever. I've got her album there. Forget you saw that. We've got Good Charlotte, the best of Fall Out Boy, the best of Status Quo, Avril Lavigne. You've seen that now, I can't hide it. Russ Abbott, Daft Punk, Suggs. Again, you know, why should I have to justify owning these things? It's my choice. Let's see what else we got. Velvet Underground, Newfound Glory, JJ72, The Best of Buddy Holly, a Sash album in there, a Train album in there, Best of Tina Turner over there. It's just stuff that, you know, I want to have, but, you know, it's not like I'm necessarily embarrassed. I just have to, it's tucked away hidden behind other CDs. So I've been Roger Swift, and that was my complete CD collection of albums, not including compilations. I'm going to do that in a separate video. There's my DVD collection very quickly, if you're on a freeze frame. I'm going to do that in a separate video. That's a collection down there of 7-inch vinyls I've got, and that is my Manic Street Preachers CD collection, including, although a lot of these are bootleg ones I've picked up of live albums, and every album they've done, you know, these are the bashed about ones. I've got like a secondary mint copy of all of them, but these are like the bashed about ones I actually listen to. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to do a DVD one, I'm going to do my book collection, and I'm going to do my video game collection. Oh, that's not very big now. This has been Roger Swift. Peach out.